This trick will convince people that you can predict the future or that just crazy coincidences happen around you. And the crazy thing is, it is completely self-working. Let's get into it.
Open sesame!
The audience shuffles the deck and you take out 2 random cards for them to use, and you gather 2 friends to have these 2 cards. So maybe one person's over here, one person's over here, and the first person is going to deal down cards until they're content. And once they're done, they just place that card face up in the deck where they finished, and the rest of the deck goes on top. And then without overlapping that card, the other audience member themselves does this as well. And when they're content stopping, they're just going to throw their card in as well. And despite the fact that they shuffled the deck and then they dealt the cards themselves, this crazy coincidence happens. Or maybe it's magic. When you have the audience members shuffle the deck, you're going to take 2 cards out. So let's do this fresh to show you. The 5 of spades ended up on bottom in this situation, and the 7 of clubs ended up on top. So as I briefly go through the deck, I want to make this as quick as possible, but don't freak out. You're going to get the pairs to those cards. So it was the 7 of spades and the 5 of clubs is the other one. So what we're doing here is you're just taking a quick peek of the top and bottom card as you take the deck back to find these cards. And all you're saying is, I'm just going to grab a couple random cards, but you're actually looking for the pairs of these 2 cards that they just happen to shuffle into those positions. Another way you can do this is with special cards like face cards. So you can load 2 queens and then retrieve 2 queens. That's the way I used to do it, but that takes a little more time. So this feels a little more off the cuff and random of like, let's just throw some random cards out here. Make it casual. The trick hasn't started yet, right? That's kind of the idea. And then you can do this with 2 separate people, or you can just do it with 1 person. It doesn't super matter. But if you have 2 audience members, you can almost play off the fact of like they're doing this with each other, or they're trying to like sync up mentally, which is kind of fun. But regardless, you hand the deck to 1 audience member and you actually want to hand it to the person who has their card on the bottom. And they're going to start dealing cards, and you just instruct them to stop when they feel like it. So they'll stop, and then instruct them to place the card face up in the deck. When they place these cards down, that's going to load this card there. So you can kind of see where we're headed with this. And then as long as they don't deal past this face up card already, the other audience member, you can instruct them to do the same. So just tell them to stop whenever they feel like. They place the card face up, and you're explaining like this is to mark it for later, and then that gets loaded there. So this is completely self-working as long as you prepare the deck to be in the state it needs to be, and you instruct your audience members well while also staying casual. It's a fine line. We have to walk in a lot of magic. So you want to make sure they follow the instructions right so the illusion happens, but you don't want to be weird. So just make sure you guide them through that. Then you're going to spread the deck. The first time I saw this trick taught was, I think, by a Tony Chang on a live stream, and he did a kind of different version of it. But regardless, you're going to take the card above each of these cards, and you can then reveal that they match. The important thing about this trick is presentation, and that goes for any self-working trick. There's almost inverse proportions here of like the easier a trick is or the more self-working it is, the even more valuable that dressing it up with presentation is going to be, right? So one thing to help might be having 2 participants and playing off of them. That can be a very fun interaction as well, but also recapping and emphasizing. So emphasizing the fact before you do the final reveal, emphasize like, hey, you guys shuffled the deck, you held the deck, and you did the dealing. I didn't influence you to make the decisions you made, right? Kind of emphasizing those things will really help in making this just seem absolutely impossible. You want to increase the drama of this. What you can actually do is take a smaller packet of cards, rip them in half, and then do the trick the same way, but now you're dealing with finding the other half of a given card. So you're going to load up the force cards in the exact same way. You can perform it in the exact same way, but it's a little more dramatic, like you're finding the other half of the card. People also won't be as used to seeing a torn in half deck of cards, and so there's a little bit of novelty and intrigue there. First time I saw that was from Brian Brushwood's long-going Scam School, Scam Nation, kind of that brand. They had a YouTube tutorial where they talked about that version of the presentation, which I really liked. And so if we take that a step further, and I'm not sure if they mentioned this on their video, but if you wanted to completely take this outside the realm of cards, you could actually get like photos, like old photographs of, like, maybe it's like portraits of people, or you can make it like old black and white photos. And so now you're completely outside the realm of cards, but you can still have people mix them, and then you find the halves that you need to force, you take those out, you go through it the same way, but now it's not even like a card trick anymore. It's people finding the other half to these photographs. So I was kind of ideating around that, and I was going to use it for like a Halloween show a year or two ago. I didn't get around to doing that, but I think that's a really cool potential for a way to present this trick. And then I also need to shout out Dan and Dave, because they recently taught it on their YouTube channel, and that's where I saw the version where you just casually take 2 random cards, and I was like, oh, why haven't I been doing it that way? I've been trying to get like special face cards, but you can just do it this way instead. Editing Michael here. I did want to share an extra story, an extra recommendation on how you can use the principle found in this trick. So this trick is typically done with 2 selections. There was one time where, and I know this is going to sound like a big fish story, this is to help you, but it was a fun memory from the different performance experiences I've had, where someone happens to carry around a playing card in their wallet, and they asked me if I could do a trick with their playing card. So it was kind of an off-the-cuff thing. I was already performing some magic, but it was kind of an off-the-cuff invitation or challenge or request. And so what I decided to do was do this trick, but with only 1 card. So I loaded the matching card to theirs. I think it was a Queen of Hearts, and I forget the relevance of why they had it. So I loaded it to the bottom, and I had the other participant do the deal. And then I had her place her Queen of Hearts from her wallet face up in the deck. And then I went on to present it just as 1 card being found. So I think we typically use the 2 selections probably for multiple reasons. Getting the 2 spectators involved is fun, and finding 2 cards is cool. But it also probably helps to mask the method some. So there might be a risk in doing this with only one selection. But I think if you present it right and you do those emphases that we talked about, the fact that you're using the card above the face-up card instead of what should be the card they look at below the card, if you're able to present this well, I think people miss that fact, which is a really fascinating psychology. So that also brings up something helpful, which is that being curious, being helpful, and being able to take these tricks in the stock version and being able to reapply them when the opportunity presents itself is really helpful in magic. And that made it, of course, a very unique and special experience for that person. And you can do that for others too. Once you learn these tricks well and you know the normal way to do them, you can start remixing and freestyling, which is so fun to do in magic. Is that right, Theo? So what do you think of this trick, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Or what's your favorite self-working trick, if you know one? Recommend tricks to each other in the comments below, help each other out, and I'll see you in the next video.